Okay, a jungle path for Belveth. One thing that you have to consider with the jungle path for Belveth is that she has to attack something. And whenever you're in a position where you have to attack, well, it kind of forces your hand a little bit. Because Belveth is generally bad at just clearing the jungle and doing nothing, because other champions get more value than her by doing that. Think of champions like Elise Jarvan. They have CC built into their kit. They have dodge moves. They have more HP. They have more durability. So Belveth is very much a carry champion in this regard, and that's where a lot of her skill curve is going to be, especially for newer players. And it's one of the reasons why I recommend newer players don't play her, because you're going to fail a bunch of attacks, and that's pretty discouraging. Whereas you can fail a bunch of attacks on other champions and then still get the job done. But anyways, Belveth has to attack. So the first jungle path that we'll be looking at, we're going to 3-camp gank. So usually I end up starting the Raptors. The Raptors are very fast because Belveth's Q start level 1, and then we pull those into the red buff, and then if you E the red buff as soon as you get there and smite it, then it's just a matter of time with the autos and Qs to finish it off, and then if you do that, using the E right as you start, then you can use a second E on the golems to finish them off even faster, and then you have a very, very, very fast, maybe one of the fastest 3-camps in the game, rivaling like Shaco. And then if you want to see mechanically how to do that, I mean, I have 1.5 billion videos. So we do this 3-camp. You can do it in different orders, say red into golems into raptors, so that you can end up mid lane. But regardless, that's going to put us in the river. And what's nice about being in the river is that you then have options. We have options to attack. We can attack bot lane, we can invade the enemy jungle, or we can gank mid lane. And with this, surely one of them is doable, right? Surely one of these are doable. And if it's successful, then you can start doing other things. So if we go into the enemy jungle, for example, we are probably going to find the enemy jungler on wolves, fight them for wolves. Did you get their wolves? Cool, that's a win. Did you get their flash? Nice, that's a win. Did you kill them? That's a win. Did their bot lane move? And then you escape. That's a win. So these sort of things can lead you into having attacks that can be successful in many different ways. And then obviously, like ganks onto the bot lane, is the bot lane pushed up and you flank them, that's a win. So you can find these plays on the bot side, but if we go mid lane, then that also opens up the rest of the map to us. So we potentially gank mid lane, or just end up crossing through, and then we're in the top side river. And all the meanwhile, we're still waiting for the scuttle crabs to spawn. So if the enemy jungler started blue side, they're probably going to be heading into the red side. They might even be on raptors at this point, and then we can invade the enemy's red from this point. And that's pretty good chances for us to have a successful play. Let's say like an easy champion to invade. Like if this is a Mumu finishing up the raptors moving into red, then that's a pretty easy invade. Just to, whack that small poor guy, enough times and then follow a flash, and you probably have a kill from there. So, again, options to attack. What do I do after that? Well, you probably go back to the scuttle crab, because the scuttle crabs are going to be a neutral objective for you to get. So they'll be right here and right here. And if we did this red invade, then it's right back to here. And then you could cross through mid again to get the bot side scuttle. And from there, you can choose to gank bot, either fight for the scuttle crab, or if you do both scuttles, you could also just reset. If we got a kill, 3 camps and both scuttles, then you might need one more camp, but you probably have enough gold for Noon Quiver with Futures Market as Belveth. And then after you've done all this ganking on the first turn, we then enter the second turn. On the second turn, if you've done all this ganking, then it's time to do a full clear. Luckily, it's kind of hard for the enemy to invade you if you invaded them. So if all this was successful, then your golems and raptors have respawned, and then you still have blue buff to do. So the golems and raptors will give you more XP, but with the new quiver, the gromp, the blue, and the wolves will still be level 1. And because they're level 1 and you have the new quiver, you're going to clear them super, super quickly. So if you were to clear all these camps down, then you clear them very, very quickly, and that will get you from potentially level 3 all the way to like level 5. And I would say like maybe 10%, maybe 25% to level 6. And then you're playing ball from there. All the camps are down. What do? You guessed it. Fight for scuttle, gank bot, invade, gank mid, or cross through mid to then fight on the top side, fight for the scuttle, or gank top lane. And then you only have about 50 seconds-ish to do all this. And then after that, you enter turn 3. Did you win that turn? Awesome. You get like a recurve bow. And then maybe a crit cloak that isn't too useful. But more importantly, you won the play, so then you can get back to your camps faster. At this point, the red buff probably respawned, or your Gromp in blue is going to be respawning, and you have the Rift Herald coming up at 8 minutes. So, if you do any of these camps, you probably hit level 6, and then you need level 6 to get the form with Rift Herald. And if you're on the Rift Herald right as it spawns, that heavily increases your chance to get it, and you can kind of take the wheel from there, I think. So, I really, really, really like this ganking path with Belveth because it gives you so many opportunities and chances to fight early. And then with that, if any of those are successful, you make the game a whole lot faster for you. And Belveth is all about speeding up the game. She's also very useless at not speeding up the game in comparison to other junglers. Because let's say if we did a full clear into Scuttle, into Reset, into full clear into Dragon, then it's a lot worse than other junglers because on the recall, if we do a full clear reset, then we don't have Noon Quiver. You have to do a full clear into 2 camps, into a reset, into these two, then you get Noon Quiver with futures, and then you could do these 2 camps into Dragon, for example. But with the ganking path, oh my god, we get to spend all of our abilities and attack the enemy. If you attack the enemy, you slow them down. And if the enemy is slower than you, then you're probably winning in most cases. I like that a whole lot. So that's our first jungle path, the ganking jungle path. The second jungle path is going to be the full clear, where I just said that the full clear is pretty bad. There's things that you can do where you don't have to play around the objectives, whereas most junglers that's going to be full clearing nowadays are just going to be doing that exact path, man. I do my buff, I do my gromp, I come home, I kiss my wife, she makes me dinner, and I just have a great old time. They do scuttle, they reset, and then they do their full clear, they're level 5, they do dragon, they're level 5 and like 30%, they reset, they do their buff, they do this, they're level 6, baba booey at that point. But Belveth sucks too much at doing the dragon in the early game by herself. Other champions do it a whole lot better. So whenever Belveth is full clearing, I'm usually looking to just farm max. Like, get as much farm as possible. It's not about the dragon in the early game for me, it's about the farm. And then you can still have a couple ganks whenever you do a full clear. So the way I usually do a full clear on Belveth is I'll do raptors, red, golems, and then path towards my blue side. Do the blue, do Gromp, or do wolves into Gromp, into blue, so that Gromp respawns faster. Because if we're farm maxing, we want to be getting all the minor camps faster and faster. The faster you farm them, the faster they respawn, the faster you get them again, the faster you get stronger, okay? So then we finish up with blue buff, and then we take Scuttle. And then after Scuttle, you don't reset. You go right back to your Raptors, because if you started them, then they'll be respawning within 20 seconds of you finishing the Scuttle Crab. So that gives you a lot of time to walk back to them, do them, and then do golems. And then after the golems, you have the option to reset or gank bot. But it's probably going to be a reset, because the reset gives you the Noon Quiver with Futures Market. And then it's back onto the map. You do wolves, you do Gromp, and then you're in the river. Now that is way slower than doing the gank path, but you'll be level 5 and have a Noon Quiver. But then my question is, what is there to do? What if you can't gank bot? What if you can't invade? Because all the enemy's jungle camps are gone. They've been farming too, and then you can't gank mid. This is where it's kind of boring for Belveth with the full clear path, because if your top laner makes a mistake, if your mid laner makes a mistake, if there's a skill gap in these lanes, then L, just drop an L right there, drop an L right there. If the enemy jungler didn't make a mistake, drop an L in the red side, can't get that. And we're still would be a minute 30 to oh my God, maybe 3 minutes out on the Rift Herald at that point. So yeah, you could cross through mid and then try to get to the bot side and then just run into the enemy jungle, who's also been full clearing. That's an option for you, but yeah, ideally we end our clear on the top side and then we gank top, and then after ganking top, we gank mid, and then after we gank mid, Our raptors will be respawned, and then we can take those again. Take the golems, reset, get recurve bow, back onto the map, wolves, gromp, depending on what we need for level 6, if we even need the level 6, or you could just reset right to the Rift Herald if you have the time to. So why would you do the full clear path over the ganking path? Well, I usually find myself having to do this against a lot of tank jungle matchups or jungle matchups like Ivern, where they can somewhat match your pace and then come and counter gank you perpetually in the early game, or if the enemy jungler is just stronger than Belveth. Or, actually, the most common case that I end up doing this is when I have non-lanes, lanes that don't activate until later, so like say level 6. If I have Malphite top lane, Zed mid lane, and then Seraphine plus Sona bot lane or something, sure guys, I'll just farm all my jungle camps and do my own thing, and then you guys are on your own because in the meantime, like I haven't touched any of the lanes for quite some time. By the time I end up top lane, they'll be level 5 or level 6. And then by the time I end up mid lane, it'd be the same deal. So that's like usually the most common time that I find myself doing this because you don't have the option to really force a gank early for weak lanes. So alrighty, that's Bel'veth's Jungle Path. Hope that helps. Be sure to like and subscribe, and if you want to get better at League of Legends, check out the Metafy link below. Buy a recorded VOD review if you're a noob. It's the best one. All right. Thanks for watching. Peace.